You know, the
All
list
right,
of
here
rules
we
for
go.
a
Let me.
podcast. Number one, press record.
Press record. I know.
The injuries don't heal up as quick. It's like if I can talk my way out of this, I'm going to talk my way out of this. You know.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Getting 10-8. And this is actually take two of this episode with some character changes. Believe it or not, last night we got together and put together about 2 hours of content with Jamie Murray, who you see right up here next to me, and Jennifer Bass could not make it to last night's show. Mike Pontius was down there where Jennifer is right now. And when Mike left, we got 2 hours in the can. I said, oh man, this is going to be great. And when Mike leaves and Jamie and I are talking, and I said, yeah, I'm going to be able to edit this down. And I looked over at OBS and I said, oh shit. And Jamie said, you didn't press record, did you?
You knew it.
Yep. Yep. I knew it.
I said, yep, that's exactly what I did. So,
Yeah.
so this
So
is
funny.
take 2 of episode 25, and we are introducing Jamie Murray. And look, let me tell you something. For a while, it was so tough for me getting anybody from. I used to tell people it was tougher than woodpecker lips to get somebody from law enforcement to come on this show. And I kept trying to tell everybody, hey, look, we aren't active in law enforcement anymore. Statute of limitations have run out. We don't have an HR department. We're fixing to tell y'all some shit tonight. Finally, when Jamie contacted me and said, hey, I can come on and talk. And I said, well, absolutely. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you for having me for the second time.
Right. This kind of seems like old hat now, doesn't it?
Of course, we have no proof of the first time.
That's right. Other than the ribbing that I will take for the next year or two, I'm sure.
Probably so. Probably so.
And also with us we have Jennifer Bass, a returning guest here on the show. Always a pleasure to have Jennifer. As you notice, their background is different from mine. I'm EMS, and if you'll look, they are law enforcement. We talked about a bunch of stuff last night. One of the things that we talked about was some of the training that took place, and since I'm having to ask you to repeat, Jamie, how you got into law enforcement, the training, the different types of stuff you did in law enforcement and the
Yeah.
agencies.
Yeah. I started my career '97, Hattiesburg Police Department. Graduated top of my class, class president, got the leadership award, and I fell in love with training immediately. So I went back to the academy as just a volunteer on the next academy that came after mine. And so I started learning. And of course, if you're that guy, you know, you're going to get all the bad part of training. You're going to be the bad guy. You're going to get handcuffed. You're going to get all that kind of stuff. You have to earn your way in, and then they'll give you a block of instruction to teach. Normally, it's like police ethics or something that's really boring and dry, and then they'll see if you really want to do it, and then you work your way up to finally you'll get sent to get some kind of instructor certification in something very minor. And then after you build that up and you've done good over a couple of years, they'll send you an instructor methodology course, which I went to that, and then you become a state certified instructor. And I just built on top of that and finally got into all the cool stuff for the high speed gear and the driving, tactical driving, and then building into getting on a SWAT team, becoming a SWAT instructor and teaching that, and going forward with that. So yeah, I based a lot of my career around training. When I left Hattiesburg, I became the Lamar County Sheriff's Department. As we moved through building that department up, I became the director of training, where I was over all the training for the entire department. We would train other agencies around us just because we had a little bit more of a training base foundation than they did. So we would have a lot of other departments come to us, a lot of state agencies, even the three-letter federal agencies come and train with us at our little training facility we had, and we would go out, like we talked about last night, doing training out there at Shelby, medical training and stuff like that. So yeah, had a lot of bases in training, very, very pro training type personality I have when it comes down to law enforcement.
Working in the SWAT like you did, and you talk about Lamar County, a lot of the training takes place with Lamar County. That used to not be the case in Lamar County. It used to be that was just at a little rural county over there next to Hattiesburg. But Hattiesburg
Right.
has grown into Lamar County, and we got a sheriff that came in, Danny Regal, that had come in, and he was from Hattiesburg Police Department. And a lot of the folks out there in the county were like, well, I don't know. He's a Hattiesburg cop. He's going to have to know it's different being sheriff than being a cop. Well, he brought that sheriff's department from, man, when I was a teenager running the roads in Lamar County, it was like Dukes of Hazzard to us. We had a lot of dirt road that was left in Lamar County, and we ran it like Dukes of Hazzard. And we'd know, all right, they're going to be trying to keep us out of this area where we're having the campfire and meeting up with the ice chests full of beer and all the dates, and we're out in the woods.
All right.
But they couldn't leave the road. That was a rule that one of SO could not leave the road. They couldn't leave the pavement. Somebody got stuck on the power line one night, and the sheriff said no more going off road to try to get those kids. So we'd find out where they were setting up the roadblocks, and we had several different entrances into these areas, and we'd coordinate and work our way around them. But can't get away with that these days because it's more about actual law enforcement. One of the reasons that took place, Jamie, talk about the growth that took place from the 80s in Lamar County and 2025 in Lamar County. What's happened in that time?
We Lamar County is the second fastest growing county in the state of Mississippi right now, and it has been for a number of years. We had a huge shot in the arm when Katrina came through. We had a lot of people that moved in that didn't go back to where they came from, so that increased the population drastically. When I started, when Sheriff Regal became sheriff, I was the first one he hired, sworn in right there with him when he got sworn in the first time as sheriff, and then we went to work, building training and building, doing things the correct way, building the professionalism, policies, procedures, standards, all that kind of stuff. But I think the first year I worked here in 2004, I think our ending call volume was about 13,000 and some change. And
For a
then
year.
my last for the whole year. That was all the calls for service. This includes traffic stops, anything that was recorded through the CAD system. Then the 2021 to 2022 was I retired in May of 2022, but I was patrol supervisor on the 31st of December 2021. So we have the date rotation over starting a brand new year. And I think our call volume at that night was 76,000 and some change, I think is what it gone to. So you're looking from 2004 to 2022 at the increase of calls for service, traffic stops, officer initiated calls, and so on and so forth. So that just goes to show you, I'm not sure what the population was of the county in 2004, but now it's close. It's between 65 and 70,000. The next census will put us close to 70,000, I'm sure.
Yeah, it has blown up. What used to be mom and pop patchwork farms when I grew up out here in woods that we used to go hunting. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me stuff like, yeah, I used to hunt right in this area. I said, no, you didn't. That's the Piggly Wiggly parking lot, You're crazy, old man. And then I started driving, and I'd be driving through Lincoln Road Extension. I said, we used to party back here, and I hunted right over there. And they're like, no, you didn't, Dad. That's a doctor's office, and that's a church. You didn't party at the church. So
Right.
it was that I'm starting to realize that my dad probably did hunt in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot before
Oh
it
yeah.
was that.
Yeah, he probably did.
So yeah, it's grown and it has blown up. Like you said, Katrina came in and there was a big influx of South Louisiana that came up here. Good or bad, it increased the call volume quite a bit.
That it did overnight.
Yeah.
And has
Now,
not
while
slowed
this
down.
is going on, Jennifer's working Hattiesburg.
Oh
In,
yeah.
in Hattiesburg at the time, in 2007, they had annexed they had stripped all the way down 98, the businesses. They're getting all the tax base from that
Yeah.
business, but not messing with the houses. What were some of the challenges dealing with that, Jennifer?
I mean, well, I was on patrol in 2007. I worked car 3, so that was my area that I worked. I love car 3 because I grew up in car 3. I grew up by Cloverleaf Mall, so I was like, can I please have car 3 because I know everywhere. I know the ins and outs and everywhere around there. Just give it to me. So anyway, that's where I ended up working. I mean, to me, it wasn't a challenge. I wasn't here during Hurricane Katrina. God, I think I was at Fort Gordon. Matter of fact, I was at Fort Gordon during Hurricane Katrina.
Military. Yeah.
Yes, because I was in the military. I was in Fort Gordon, and I was watching everything on the news, and it was freaking horrible. I was glad I wasn't home. I think it was real bad though, like not being able to get in contact with my family and stuff. That was probably the hardest thing for me or whatever. And then coming home when we were actually able to come through and see everything, it was awful. So yeah, I wasn't there during that time, but yeah. So I couldn't tell you about that. I mean, we stayed busy. Hattiesburg stayed busy, and I think it's even more busy now. Like because my daughter works over there, it's very busy. So call volume's very high. Now we
Now,
stayed call to call, like back to back to back.
now
Most of the
is your
time.
daughter a Hattiesburg police officer as well?
Yeah, she is.
Well,
Yes.
you know what they say, the apple don't fall too far from the tree.
It sure don't look. And I got one graduating USM in May, and I'm like, please join the military. So I think
Yeah.
she's going in the military. Yeah. I think she's
Yeah, don't go in law enforcement.
yeah. I know. And look, it's so hard for me to say that because I was like pushing my daughter to go in law enforcement because I love it. Like, and I know James loves it. I love it. Like, I don't think there's anything I would have rather have done.
Right.
So, and my daughter, my oldest one, she's just like me. She's just a people person. She's good with people. She's good at what she does, and she loves it. So, and people love her. So, and not all people, because people you take to jail aren't gonna love you, but you can make it a good experience, when you take them to jail. So,
Right.
Jennifer, I don't know if you saw the episode that we did when I had Kristen McLaughlin on Tactical Tinkerbell. You were supposed to be on that episode.
I missed it. No,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
She said something that was super cool. She talked about, I am helping people at the worst day of their life when it's going on. And she talked about having good verbal judo to get people in the back of that car where she didn't have to go and do much fighting. And she said, look, I'm 5'2". She said, if they go to fighting, I'm in a bind. So she said, I had more justification to use my weapon, but she didn't want to do it. So that's when she went and learned jujitsu. And she's like a brown belt in jujitsu now. So she goes, where do all fights end up going? They go to the ground. Let me learn some jujitsu. So
right.
She's a tough officer. I like her.
I'm gonna have to watch some of her stuff though. I hadn't watched it yet, but she's right. Like, and James can tell you, like, it's so important that you learn how to communicate with people. Like, it's so important. Like, communication has saved me so many times. Just knowing how to talk to people, what environment I'm in, who I'm dealing with, how do I get this person to comply. I haven't had too many problems. Not too many. I mean, you really got to learn how to talk to people. You just do. It's so important. Because I would much rather talk to someone and get them to comply, than have to use of force or anything. So
that verbal judo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. mean,
Yeah.
you nailed that. It's one of those things where, a lot of the communication, and I think in law enforcement, is we forget that the part of communication of listening and then being able to figure out, what the issue is and finding a way to deal with that person and that issue versus how the last person that you dealt with that had the same issue, you dealt with them.
Yes.
Everybody's different. And that's
Right.
the beauty of what we do for a living, and the training that we get is being able to talk to the richest person in your area to the poorest person in your area and everybody in between, and for 7 days a week, 365,
Yeah.
because you just
And they
never know
all
what
feel
somebody's
like,
going through.
and they all feel like they were heard and listened to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And and you get some officers and some deputies that they don't get that skill quick enough, and they antagonize, or it always builds into the physical side of it. And you're like, oh my God, so, the
Yes.
older you get, yeah, obviously the more experience you get, the injuries don't heal up as quick. It's like, if I can talk my way out of this, I'm going to talk my way out of this,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. Exactly.
No.
I was
Go
telling
ahead.
somebody a while back with that, one of the guys I work with up there now, they're always asking, hey, tell me about this, tell me about that. And we had a couple of guys in our office that had gotten hurt on the job and, had knee problems or whatever. And I told them, I was like, yeah, I've had 2 knee surgeries. I've had an elbow surgery. I've had, torn my Achilles, all these type of injuries I had over the years from SWAT and patrol and everything else. And I told them, I said, I spent 25 years on law enforcement, 17 years on SWAT, and I probably spent not in a straight line, but altogether probably 4 years on light duty
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of all the injuries.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
I'm going to
And
tell
so
you, there was the guy that I bought my house from, and I'm not going to mention his name on here, but you know him. Both of y'all know him. I was out fishing one day, and I was on the dam, and he was home because he had had some surgery. He was out on medical, and he was on the SWAT team with you, Jamie. And I'm out there fishing down the dam, and I catch this fish, and I pull it in, and I get it in the boat, and weigh it, and I put it back in the lake, and I get a phone call, and it's this guy. And he goes, "How big was it?" And I said, "It was 376." And I look over there, and I said, "You got me in that damn scope, don't you?" He had me in the scope, his SWAT. He goes, "I got the bolt out. You're all right." I said, "You're still looking down a weapon through a scope to see what I'm doing at the lake." You know exactly who I'm talking about, don't you, Jamie?
Yep. We won't
Yeah.
mention any names.
We will protect the innocent.
Right. Well, I don't know about innocent, but we'll protect the person.
But
So, yeah, you end up when you build the communication skills, especially on patrol. Jennifer will tell you. I mean, she worked a car 3 over there was one of the best areas to work. You're kind of in the middle of everything in Hattiesburg. You got them avenues, and you got a little bit of Broadway Drive and Hardy Street in there. So you're also, you got a lot of backup opportunities there.
Yeah.
Being able to communicate with different nationalities, different upbringings, different societal challenges, and everything else. Well, as soon as you master that, you can really have a very good career that doesn't involve as much physicality as some people have
Oh,
in law
yeah,
enforcement.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Especially working DUIs. I think we talked a little bit about DUIs last time.
yeah.
Especially working DUIs. Yeah.
Well, and that's something else that Kristen talked about. She said, my verbal judo was good for everybody but a drunk.
But drunk,
She said,
yeah.
you cannot reason with a drunk.
It's
And
hard. I'm telling you, it's hard.
It's
Yeah.
taken them a while to process, man. You got to it's taken them a while to process what's going on.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you have those situations where you're on a call for service, someone's intoxicated, traffic stop, someone's intoxicated, and calls are back and stacking and everything else, and you're trying to get through this call to either you're gonna take this subject to jail, you're gonna get them somewhere where they're safe, or someone's gonna take them away. family member, friend, whatever the case, so you can just get back to the next call. So sometimes it gets hard to take the time with those type of subjects to really get through to them.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they'll want to argue with you about you giving them that break. Hey,
Oh, absolutely.
get your family over here. We're locking your vehicle up and they're taking you to jail. They're taking
Let's
you
take it
home.
easy. Yeah.
That's that's the better way to go. If you could do that for the perpetrator. But
Yeah.
getting that through their head a lot of times is tough.
Well, I'm going to steal a line from Ron White. He said, you have the right to remain silent, just didn't have the ability.
You just have to
Absolutely.
deal with it. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because they're not thinking, well, they're not thinking. They're not thinking when they get behind the wheel like that. But we're just trying to make sure they get home safe, make sure they don't hurt anybody else, But that I mean, I've had people. I think I told you last time. I've had people write letters up after I pulled them over. Like thank you for saving my life. Thank you for getting me home safe. Thank you for the way you treated me. So
Yep.
it's still got to treat people, the way you want to be treated. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And then
another
you saved
thing.
everybody's life, So
Man, I got to tell you, Mike's one of those guys. If you've got him as a friend, you have got a gem of a friend. He's got a big heart. I'm wearing the hat for the La Cusa barbecue cook-off that he puts on every year, and for the last 3 years, he's been doing that to raise money for a cancer foundation down on the coast, the Memorial Hospital Cancer Foundation. I hate that he wasn't here to make the big reveal. His goal this year was to be able to write a check to the Memorial Foundation for $20,000 from the La Cusa barbecue cook-off, and he did, in fact, get to do that. So,
that's good.
Perp, Mike, you did an awesome job. Sorry you couldn't come back on tonight, but 2 nights in a row of putting up with me and Jamie, I don't blame you for not being able to make it. But
Right.
we did get Jennifer to come in and see us, so that's always a ray of sunshine.
Well, let's talk, Jennifer. I did not know some things about you that I happened to see. I guess I don't know if you posted or somebody else did that you're a track star or cross country or
Yeah.
something from Hattiesburg and Southern Miss. Didn't you have some records or something at one time, or
Yeah.
still do?
I did. Look, you know how like you get in your feelings and you start looking through old pictures and old crap or whatever. So I was looking through all my stuff like a couple months ago, whatever. So, but it was still out. I was like, oh my God, like it just brought back so many memories. And I'm friends with so many people that ran track at Southern with me, still on Facebook. So we
Yeah.
still keep in touch. And so when I saw that, I said, well, I'm gonna post this. But everybody was like, yeah, look at your hair. Like some of my cousins was like, look at your hair. I was like, yeah, my mom hated my haircut. And it was like, oh, that's the back.
Yeah.
It was like,
That was that style back then.
But yeah, I ran track at Hattiesburg, and I played basketball, and I love basketball. But then I started running track, and then my track coach was like, no one wanted to run the long distance, nobody, and I didn't care. I'm pretty much the same way now. Put me where you want, put me where you need me, and so
Put me
Right.
as
she put me in
coach.
a 2 mile, and I ran it, and I won it, and she said, "This is your race. This is what you're gonna be running." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." But then I got to where I was like, oh my God, I love it because I was winning. I was like, oh my God, I'm good at
Yeah.
this. Like I'm beating everybody. I love it. I didn't like to lose. I hated it. But yeah, I know I wrote in there. I was like, God, we didn't even have money for like shoes and stuff. Like my parents didn't make a lot of money. My parents worked at Murray Envelope. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't make a lot of money. Both my parents worked there. And so I guess they wanted to see if I was really going to be good before they trade them spikes in and bought me some running shoes. But I finally got running shoes. And yeah, I ended up going to Southern and I ran track 4 years
That's
there.
awesome.
So
Now, did you
yeah,
That's
wear
awesome.
spikes in long distance?
well, yeah, initially because we didn't know if I was really going to run them. Like the coach really just put me out there to run, and I still like to run. Like I can't run like I used to because I got hurt. Like when I was in the military, I got hurt. They actually told me I would never run again, ever, because I had surgery on my ankle. I had to have ligament reconstruction. Never run again. So I was like, man. And I was a
Yeah.
captain. So, being an officer, you gotta leap from the front or whatever you're supposed to. But you really your NCOs do, but you know. And so I was like, man, I guess I'm just gonna get out. So anyway, that's the reason I ended up getting out of the military because I had a couple surgeries. But I run like
What was
I
your
I'm
MOS?
still I was finance.
Okay.
hmm
That's
So
smart.
Now, you were regular Army, right?
I was active duty.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got to talking about some of the training and last night when we were talking, and some of the areas y'all went to the captive to train, and you worked with other agencies. You trained with other agencies there. Kind of tell us about that, Jamie.
We try to take advantage of anything or any assets we have around us. And obviously, we live here in South Mississippi in the Hattiesburg area, and Camp Shelby is here. And at the time, was one of the largest mobilization training bases in the country, especially when we had both the wars going on. So they're building training structures out there. Like I said, the captive they're talking about that facility is just a unbelievably high tech. And so we took advantage of getting involved in that. So we partnered up with them as much as we could. And we did everything from bringing our patrol out there to SWAT training to doing some medic training. And then there was other agencies that was getting in there alongside us as well, because we all have to work together. We all do mutual aid type of deals where we'll partner up with other agencies to run missions or go across, jurisdictional lines to help out in any type of situation. So setting up and being able to train side by side with other law enforcement agencies and other people that, you work with, and then having, that type of an asset of, simunition rounds, buildings you can set up in any type of configuration. They were able to put in sounds, gunshots. They were able to pump in smells,
Yep.
smoke, all kinds of stuff in that
Yep.
system. And it was probably the most realistic stuff I've ever gotten into, which was really cool. So we took a big advantage of that. I think
Not
I
only
spoke to you
that,
last night.
they probably gave you an address to go to. All the street names out there, they've got street names. It's a
Yeah,
it. This is a small city, supposed to look like a city in the Middle East, like a small
yeah,
village that you go to, and they have all these different buildings. So not only are you worried about this building you're going into, you're worried about the building behind you and what's on the
yeah,
second floor up there or on the roof.
It is pretty cool.
yeah. When they put the money into that, that was probably the coolest thing we ever did. I think I told you last night when we were talking where we got into the medical training. I'd gone over, had left the county and went to Afghanistan and worked for DynCorp and took a year long contract over there. Well, part of my time there, we were kind of stuck on one of the bases in Mazar Sharif, and we weren't rolling out to our fob that we were going to go to. And we got like 10 days of training, extra medical training, because there was a medical tent there. And they were like, hey, I just need people signing up. So we got to do IVs on each other, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And,
You sound like that's
got to
fun.
work with
You act
it.
like that's
Was.
fun.
It was a
Having
blast.
students
It was a
stick you.
blast.
Oh, no. No, look, I've
Well,
got ropes
here's
for
the deal.
veins. I got ropes for veins. When I was in paramedic school, I felt like a damn pincushion. And I was always looking
Yeah.
for that
Well,
person that had the worst veins in school. I
Mhm.
said, that's the one I want to practice on, because that's what I'm going
yeah.
to see when I see a patient out on the street.
Yeah.
Collapse veins, little
Yeah.
spider veins. I don't want to go
Mhm.
after
Oh,
the
yeah.
rope. I'm the
Right.
homecoming. I'm the homecoming team. Everybody wants to hit that rope.
Right. And so when I got back, we had lost our tactical medic on the SWAT team. And so I ended
Ag,
up
you're
going to
it.
I ended up going to EMT school, getting my EMT certification. But then, fast forwarding, I met some guys that were on the combat medic training out there at Camp Shelby. And so I asked them if they could put us together a 5-day tactical combat type course for SWAT. Well, one of the guys that was there was a former deputy from, I think, DeSoto County. And he was one of the instructors there. So he kind of had the law enforcement knowledge. And so he kind of knew what we were needing. So they put together it took them about a month. They came up with this course, and we went out there for 5 days, the entire SWAT team. And I mean, from pillar to post, they wore us out. Probably some of the hardest training I'd ever been through in my life. And we went everything from nasal pharyngeal airways to doing some IVs and stuff like that. Now we couldn't do IVs on people like a paramedic could, but we got the I think it was just the torture of doing it. But anyway, they put us through scenario based stuff. We had some moulage stuff where we had the wounds put on us, all kinds of stuff. They had a 50 cal simulator machine gun that was inside the building, fire. I mean, it was just insane what they did, and all the mannequins that would die on you if you didn't get the bleeding stopped. So it was really cool to go through that stuff. So, pairing up with your military counterparts gives you a different style training. Not just so much the combat of it, but their mindset. 'Cause I was never in the military, but their mindset towards training is different than law enforcement. So it's really good to pair those up.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is their mindset is protect that patient. And I've seen at that RTI medical training facility, which you mentioned that, at that time, or no, more recently than that time, that's where your friend, Michael Honeycutt, was over that medical training.
Absolutely.
He was over all the RTI stuff.
Yeah.
And the RTI medical, I've seen them do some exercises where they've got the mannequin out there on the ground, and you hear all this gunfire and stuff going off, and then all of a sudden the doors bust open, and here comes a team of medics going out to protect this guy and get him off. And I mean, they're going in, they're throwing a couple of tourniquets on, grabbing this mannequin. They've got 3 guys that are going out with weapons and going bang, 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 like they're laying down suppressive fire, while the other 2 guys are pulling this dude back. It was something to watch. Now, I know they probably did they do something like that with you?
Absolutely. Oh yes. Yeah. They put us through, we had several smaller scenarios throughout the week to test and gain knowledge on skills that we learned in the classroom. So you had a little bit of classroom, then in the afternoon you would have some kind of practical hands-on
practicum.
But then the very last day we set up, it wasn't at the Cactive, it was at a different site location. We couldn't get the Cactive for the end because they already had somebody training on it. But they had a big multi-story, multi-building area, site training area that was made out of connexes. We got a SWAT mission on that. Basically, it was our SWAT team had to do a quick operations plan and then go in there, save the hostage, all that kind of stuff. Well, 2 of us on the team had came in early that day and had wounds moulaged onto us. So the rest of the team didn't know. And at a certain time when the gunfire went on, we went down as, casualties, and they had to treat us. It scared them all to death because they'd actually thought we'd been shot. But so like, no, it's fake. Just deal with it. And so you're laying there, and I've got a gunshot wound in my side, and it's just pumping blood because I've got a tiny little backpack underneath my kit that's got a little pumping in there. It's got a little key fob, and you hit it, and it starts pumping out blood. And so we went through that, and they did the same thing. They set that up to where we had to go through this whole mission, and they had their OP4 type people inside there. We had to, eliminate the threat, save the hostage, and then save 2 downed officers. It was pretty intense.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, it was, like I said, it was probably one of the hardest trainings I'd been through because it was every day. I mean, they didn't, law enforcement, I will say this, we'll have training and we can get to where our administrative time may go a little long, where your lunch is supposed to be 30 minutes. Next thing you know, you've been talking for an hour and a half telling stories. The military is not like that. They are like, you start at 0800
meet this objective and we're going to get done.
Exactly. You're nonstop. So you take a bunch of cops, and then you take a bunch of cops that are on a SWAT team. It's even different mentality. We're like, hey man, don't we get a chance to sit back and eat chips and talk? No, we're training. And it was great to go through that.
Well, and it sounds like, because we talked about this last night, we talked about the difference in training when I kind of alluded to it when Danny came over, and then you came with Danny and you were doing training. The training for the deputies in Lamar County made a pretty significant shift with y'all there at the department when it went from, I'm not even going to mention the previous sheriff,
Right.
but there was a shift in actually having law enforcement officers, well-trained law enforcement officers, and not just being a elected official that got elected and the buddies came in and got to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we systematically put that type of training in place, kind of at a slow pace at first, because one thing that Sheriff Regal said coming in, he's like, "Hey, the standard is here. I'm raising it to here. It's your job to meet that standard. It's my job as sheriff to help you get there." And so that's what we did. He didn't get rid of anybody. We
Nope.
took what was there and started training them. For example, I mean, we did this on all aspects from officer survival to tactical driving, but the shooting, this is a great example. We would start out, they would just do very basic shooting qualifications. We started making it to where you were moving across the range more of an urban type, what you're going to see on a regular basis. And we started incorporating headshots as part of your qualifications. Well, we started extremely close, but over time we would keep moving that distance back to where we had the department making 15-yard headshots on a regular basis, and they never realized how good they were getting, because we were slowly and systematically introducing a different distance, a different angle, incorporating the patrol car on the range, other barricades and obstacles on the range, downed officer scenarios where we'd use a mannequin or dummy that we got from the fire department that weighs like 187,000 pounds, And so, we just slowly did that over a number of years, but we did that in as much training as we could. And it was weird coming from Hattiesburg, where I walked in the door, Jennifer did the same thing. You walked in, and I mean, that was the standard. I mean, it was set. Yeah. You better meet it or you're out. And so we had to get them to that point because we didn't want to lose anybody. We wanted to build up what was there. And they ran with it. There were some people that struggled. We would do, extra training with, but most of them kind of took to it. And I think that's what they were wanting. The younger deputies that were there when Regal became sheriff were wanting that type of stuff and wanted that change. And I think that was the big key. If it had been a bunch of people that just wanted it to stay the same way, it would have been a lot harder to do, but we were able to pull it off.
Right. Yeah, that's good, because they knew that change is good. So
yeah.
Now we got to kind of mention the shirt you're wearing, Jamie.
Oh yeah.
we do need to mention that 2027 is going to be a pretty big year for you.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Yes, and we're trying to get geared up for it. So
okay. For those of y'all that don't know, James is going to be running for sheriff of Lamar County. Sheriff Regal is leaving; he's retiring. So James will be one of the folks that's throwing your hat in the ring to run. Now, you don't know who all else is going to be in there with you, huh? It's a year before y'all even sign the dotted line, right?
Yeah, we're not even to the qualification part yet. That's January 2027. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, it's going to come quick. It's going to come quick. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I happen to live in that county. I'm one of your constituents, as is Officer Bass down there. She's one of your constituents. Do you foresee doing a continuum with this new style that Danny and you brought on, just improving it even more when you get in?
Yeah, there's you always have to change and modify and add and change your style of anything that you do. You always want to kind of keep improving it. I ran in 2023 as well and was extremely close to winning that election. And one of the things that I constantly heard on that campaign trail, and I have heard continuously since then leading into this next election, was community visibility with the sheriff's department. It wasn't just the sheriff himself. It was, you're not seeing patrol deputies. So one of my main things that I would like to bring and I ran on this last time, is community engagement. And I want to create meetings that would be around the county, like you said last night, a town hall type meeting to where deputies, command staff, and I as the sheriff would be meeting with people on a regular basis to discuss policies and procedures, law enforcement situations and incidences, and of course what the communities are seeing as a problem in their area. And Jennifer will understand this as well, but that community oriented policing style of law enforcement is sometimes the big problem in an area is really not a law enforcement issue, but yet we might be able to find a way of helping them solve that issue or getting them to the right spot. So bridging that gap between all the communities across Lamar County is very, very important to me, because we need to sit down and talk, come to the table, figure out what's going on, how can we help, and then explain things. A lot of people don't understand, law enforcement procedures. Law enforcement to civilian interactions is huge. That's why you see a lot of the traffic stop videos these days on body cam or dash cams of people just being argumentative. There's just a whole lot of stuff there. They think this is the way it can be done, and that's not correct. Or why is an officer doing this? Or why is a deputy doing that? If we open up that communication and explain that, and I think it will lead to a lot better interactions with the public from the law enforcement side.
I want you to give the example you did last night as
Are
far
you talking
as
about
the difference in the way you can make an approach to a vehicle to eliminate issues.
Yeah. One of the things that we try to push for and train for is your approach. Obviously, you're looking for signs on the vehicle, making sure you're making a safe approach and being cautious, because a traffic stop is extremely dangerous. But when I would always walk up to a traffic stop and I'd pull a car over, I would walk up and say, "Hello, my name is Sergeant James Murray with Lamar County Sheriff's Department. The reason I stopped you is you didn't come to a complete stop back there at the stop sign at 4th and 25th Avenue. And, I need your driver's license and proof of insurance." So at that point, I've pretty much answered all your questions: who I am, who I work for, why I stopped you, and what I need from you. And so it try to set the tone, like Jennifer was talking about earlier, that communication, that verbal judo we talked about earlier. You're setting that tone to where, okay, this guy's been professional, he's been courteous, he's been clear with his verbiage, and I know exactly what he wants. Now, at that point, it depends on how they're going to react to that statement, versus the other side of walking up to a traffic stop, kind of already upset or aggressive, and saying, "You know why I stopped you?" Big difference there. You're going to have a big different reaction. So that type of communications and being able to, if you have these community meetings and you kind of explain that to people, and you're having an open conversation, helps out a lot. Also, going back to having these community meetings, a lot of times, and Jennifer will attest to this too, because the area she worked in Car 3 in Hattiesburg, is that you go to a call for service, somebody had a bike stolen from their house. Petty larceny, you're there taking the information. So, "Well, officer, let me ask you this." And they're going to bring you back to something that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they're asking for information. And you want to try to be courteous and help them out, but you got 6 more calls stacked up. You got 3 or 4 of your partners on patrol. They're on traffic stops. Some are over here on a domestic. Anything could pop off and happen. So you really don't have the time to engage with the citizens at that time, because as soon as you get back in service, back 10-8, that they're probably going to give you another call.
Yeah.
So being able to have these established town hall meetings around the county, you can sit down, have that time to bridge that gap and have that dialogue. I think it's extremely important, especially in today's society.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
beautiful-
I think so too. I'm very big on that. I think so too. But there's so many resources that's out there for the community, and it's out there for people, and they don't even know about them. Like, there's so many. Shoot, I'm still learning. There's so many resources. Like, even when I was working part-time at Covington, I'm big on victim advocates. I feel like every agency needs a victim advocate, and I can give you a million reasons why. My victim advocate at Forest County, she's amazing. I was still calling her, like, "Okay, well, I got this victim that came in. Send me a list of these services that I can send her to." I mean, and she's like Johnny on the spot. She's on it. But there's just, people need to know about all the services that are available, because they might have a loved one that needs help, and I think it's important that you gotta talk to the community. Those town hall meetings are so important. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our our tax money pays for these services. And if they're not getting utilized as an asset, then they're just a waste. So you're absolutely right. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got the perfect spot, Jamie, with every voting precinct. There are community centers all through the county. You can say we're going to be here on this night. We're going to be here next week at a different one. You can get around and make that presence known to people throughout the county, and it's a pretty big county. You've got 20 miles of road north and south.
Yeah, it's 560 square miles. It's a pretty big county, 65 to 70,000 people in it. And we also, I want not only to be have the monthly meetings or whatever, but also be meetings by request, whether it's a social club, Kiwanis or something along those lines, a church or any type of social group or whatever, a business, anything that wants us to come in and have these conversations. We will be
a homeowners association.
Homeowners association, neighborhoods, whatever the case may be, anything to be in that public eye. You don't always have to be enforcing laws to be productive. I mean, there's so much more that law enforcement agencies can do other than just enforcing laws. And you build that up by having your community meetings and opening that dialogue, like I said earlier, and just bridging that gap there to make them, people sometimes just want to be heard. Like we talked about earlier on traffic stops or being able to have that communication. Some people just want to be heard, and you'd be surprised at how much better they feel just by saying what their issues are, whether you actually can solve that issue or not.
I was very big with my son at telling him, if you ever get pulled over, the only thing you better be telling that officer is yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full at whatever he's asking. You need to be respectful. You need to be nice. You don't say a word. If he gives you a ticket, you take the ticket, say thank you. If you feel like he's completely wrong for pulling you over, arguing with him is not the time. You argue in the courtroom. And they're going to be arguing according to these things that are written down in black and white called law, son. So, you come home and let me know. We're going to figure out if you broke the law, and we're going to have a discussion about that. You're probably going to rather deal with that officer than deal with me.
Right.
Yeah, that's the same thing I tell my kids.
Well, and the thing is, though, these days, everybody wants to stand up for their, my kid wouldn't have done that. Oh, yes, ma'am. He damn sure would have.
Yeah.
Ask that medic over there that's Narcaning him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, I've had nothing but respect for the Blue, and I back the Blue firmly. And I'm just so glad that you came on to talk with us, and I'm glad that you're running. I'm looking forward to you getting in there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wishing, I don't want to wish my life away and speed up time, but well, the thing about it is, ever since the last election, I really haven't been able to go anywhere. I go to church, I go to Lowe's, wherever I go, I run into somebody like, "Hey, are you running again? I still got your sign. I'm ready to put it back out. When are you running?" I'm like, the election was 3 weeks ago. We've got 4 years. So it's been like to a degree we haven't stopped campaigning. We've tried to stay relevant to certain things and keep our name out there, and so it's been positive. I mean, I was truly humbled by the whole campaign last time. We came within 573 votes of beating a 20-year incumbent. It's been a really good sheriff, and it was a really odd position to be in, especially getting thrown into the fire with such short notice when Brad Weathers decided not to run last time. And then people started calling me from around the county, "Hey, we need you to run for sheriff." And I thought there was a bunch of people got together and just was playing a joke on me. I'm like, "Me? No, I'm retired. I'm out. You got 25 years out of me." But it turned around to be one of the best decisions I ever made, whether I ever win this next one or not. Just going around. I mean, I thought I'd worked for this county for 18 years, and I went down roads and met people I'd never heard of before or seen before. it was insane. So
You had a discussion with Sheriff Riggle. Let's tell everybody what you said.
yeah, in the beginning, it was very odd, odd place to be in. He'd been a part of my entire career.
Yeah.
And when we got a chance to talk, I told him, I was like, listen, I said, I'm not running against you. I'm
Oh,
not
I'm
looking at
looking to
you.
see
I'm just running for the position of Lamar County Sheriff. I'm just going to run on what I think I can provide, and that's it. I'm not going to talk bad or mudslinging as they say in elections. I say, because I'm not a politician, and so
that.
uh, and that was just kind of the way it was. And I think there was, you could see it in the meetings that I had. There was a couple of news interviews that I did. Sheriff Regal also did. We were very respectful of each other, and
Yeah, y'all both were gentlemen that were running for a
exactly.
position.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a tough spot to be in. I just felt that if it would have been 4 or 5 people, Rob, that had called me and wanted me to run for sheriff, it'd been one thing. But I mean, it was just nonstop phone calls. My wife got some phone calls. Even our son Dylan, like some of his buddies were like, "Man, you need to tell your dad needs to run for sheriff." And just didn't make any sense while all this kind of came out of nowhere, because I had been retired for a little over 6 months at this time. I had been no, everybody done forgot, the department forgot about me the day I left.
How quickly they forget, huh?
It's kind of what happens. It's kind of what happens. You're out, you're done. And I go, well, who was that guy? Yeah, but it was. And one of the things that my wife and I discussed leading up to the last one, or making the decision to put my name on the ballot, was that I didn't want to tarnish my character, what little bit I had built up. So I
Right.
told her, I was like, I will gladly lose this election before I tarnish my character and do that kind of stuff. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what we've seen in every aspect of politics,
Yes.
is just people just slinging mud. And I'd rather, like, okay, I'm just going to take the high road and try and just put the best version of myself out there each and every day. Today I'm hoping I'm a better person than I was yesterday, and I hope the guy that wakes up tomorrow is better than today. So I've been doing a lot of work on that over the past couple of years anyway, as a father, a grandfather, and a husband. Just trying to make a better version of myself each and every day when the good Lord blesses me to open my eyes and I'm above dirt for one more opportunity.
That's good, because politics can be so ugly. I think
Yeah,
we've all seen it. Yeah, it gets so
absolutely.
nasty and so ugly. It shouldn't be like that. It's like
Yeah,
make the best man win, but man, I've seen some ugly races,
yeah,
ugly,
Yeah.
and it
I
shouldn't be
mean,
like that. I don't like that.
especially when you get to that national level. But I mean, on local levels, I've seen where people will get just downright nasty. But
Yeah,
on national
yeah,
levels, they get whole teams looking for info on the other person, and
oh
they'll
yeah,
yeah,
take snippets and edit it, and it'll be completely out of context from what the person was saying. They'll take a 3 second snip from a 5 minute conversation, and
yeah,
that's it.
oh yeah,
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that just drives me insane.
I
There's
know.
there's nothing that beats going door to door, getting kneecap to kneecap with people, drinking coffee at the
Mhm.
feed store, talking with those old guys.
Yeah,
That's that face to face. Let them see. Stand flat footed on the ground and tell them what you think, and say,
yeah,
look, you may not agree with 100% of what I'm saying, but if you
right,
agree with 80% of what I'm saying, you need to give me a look,
yeah. And
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 we
that's
can
like
talk about that other 20.
yeah, like I
yeah,
was saying earlier, that was one of the things that campaigning around the county, that was what people were pretty concerned about. And so it just being out there and being able to be in the public eye and show up at the Lake Serene groceries or other places around the county. You walk in there and meet with those people and just see them you meet them where they're at.
yeah.
And that's one
Absolutely.
thing I think that we've been missing. And so that's one of the big things I'm still running on this time, along with a lot of other things. Obviously, you got several
Right.
different issues we can talk about, but that's one of the main ones that really
Hey,
is in the face of the public.
you're on a podcast. If you've got something you want to address the people that are going to watch this, certainly feel free to do so.
Well, that one right there, everybody, what are you going to do for the county? Well, that's one where, people are going to see that because you're in their area. You're talking to them, speaking to them, meeting them where they're at. Like I said, another thing that I really want to bring to the table is leadership development. And, you know, where we're at this point is if you're going to be promoted or you're going to get into the assessment process, as long as you meet the criteria to put your letter in, then you come in and you have an interview with some command staff and stuff like that, and they ask you a series of questions, and everybody writes their notes down, situational questions or whatever, and then everybody gets together and they say, okay, I think John Doe did best. Let's promote him to sergeant. And obviously, the lieutenant of that shift that he'd be going to has got the bigger vote of anything. What I would like to do and see, and this is where you talked about Brigadier General retired now, Michael Honeycutt, and I, a very good friend of mine, we have talked about this and we're working on this, is to develop a leadership training program. So if you're wanting to become a sergeant, you need to take this 4-hour block of training that we're going to put together. It's going to take the best practices of law enforcement. It's going to take his military side. And then we're going to take some of the civilian world and we're going to put together a program that's a stair-stepping advancement. So let's just say we're getting to a point where we're going to have 2 sergeant positions open, and we have 8 people that want to put in for it. Long as you've met the requirements and you have been to that 4-hour block of training that we will offer in-house, what means inside the sheriff department. And you would have a little bit of leadership training, which is the basic and fundamentals of leadership prior to getting promoted, because you're giving these guys a promotion, but you're also giving them a lot of responsibility. If they haven't been trained to some sort of a standard, it's a little bit harder, because one day you're a deputy, the next day you're a patrol supervisor, you're a sergeant. And so you got to get some training. If you want to go from sergeant to lieutenant, there would be another block of training that's a little bit more advanced. And the same thing from lieutenant to a captain. And then after that, we will discuss going to command colleges and stuff like that, and sending that upper leadership to a different type of class. But what that does is it brings in leadership qualities to people across the board. So you'll see better responses and better deputies just because they've been through the class. Whether they've been promoted yet or not, they're still going to have better standards and better quality. That's another thing I want to bring to the table is developing that. And I've, like I said, Michael Honeycutt and I have worked on that, and we're still continuing to work on there. There's a lot of things that won't be finalized until I become sheriff and I'm in the department, because there are people at the sheriff's department that have the expertise there that we need is like the final piece of that puzzle to completely develop this program and then get it functional and put it in place.
Well, I can tell you, this sounds very much like the promotion process that takes place through the military. The training requirements you have to be even eligible to go before a promotion board. And you kind of talked about maybe doing some tweaking of the promotion board itself. Like there might be an interview with the sheriff, and then there might be an interview with some different classes.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to install and implement, shall I say, better terminology, implement a written test. Multiple choice, not a humongous hard test, but the test is based on department policies and procedures, which everybody should know. And then also the county policies and procedures that everybody that works for the county should know. Just a multiple choice questions on that. So you come in, you start your day with that test. Everybody, let's say we got that 8 people we talked about, all 8 of them are going to sit in a room, take that test, turn it in. It'll be graded at a later time. Then there'll be systematically 1 through 8. We'll have a patrol interview, which will consist of sergeants and lieutenants. These are the people that are going to be working with these new sergeants. So these are the guys that are going to be interviewing them. They're going to have their questions their peers, that they create their questions and their style of interview that they want to put together. And then after that interview, all 8 go through that interview. You're going to have an administrative interview with the command staff and the sheriff. And you will get a different style and a different set of questions from that group there. So now you have 3 entities that leads up to the promotional process, along with the training that they had already received. Then you go into, and all these entities come together. We have their test scores about the knowledge of department policies and procedures. Same thing with the county policies procedures. You have the peer, interview, and then you have the administrative interview, and everybody all in that comes together, and then you take the top and you rank them from 1 to 8, and then that's at the point. Okay, now you have systematically and fairly put the top person up there,
Right.
and you get the better of the litter, I guess you'd say. Kind of. Yeah, you're putting the best ones up there, so they're earning what they're getting, because that's it's a lot of responsibility when you go to that, because now you're not only responsible for yourself, you're responsible for the patrol deputies that work for you. You're also responsible for keeping your lieutenant informed and taking care of timesheets and days off and training and this and that and phone calls and a bunch of other things. So, I think just building that type of system in place and really making it to where, hey, I've earned this spot and nothing was given to me is very important.
And it makes them feel like they accomplished something too,
Absolutely.
instead of just giving it. Because I mean, and you've seen it too, I'm sure. Man, I've seen so many people given leadership positions, just given leadership positions that shouldn't be in leadership positions. I mean, not knocking the person, but they just didn't know. They weren't taught how to be a leader. They've never been a leader in their life. They weren't taught. And I mean, they're good people, but they just weren't taught how to be leaders.
Yeah.
And it's a lot that comes with being a leader, because you're responsible for so many people and so much, and so it's imperative that departments like teach that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. This is normally a pretty light-hearted podcast, and we've talked about some pretty heavy subjects, but anytime you're picking a high sheriff, some stuff needs to come out. So I'm glad you put up with that. And I've asked this of Jennifer, and Jennifer's asked us, do you have any humorous encounters with John Q. Public? And having said that, other than that, if you don't want to talk about that, don't want to say hazing, but some of the pranks that happen
Oh my gosh.
you might be aware of. Not saying that you were ever a part of, but you might be aware of some pranks that took place.
Oh my gosh.
Jennifer,
I had
last
to spill
time.
mine. I had to spill mine last time. So
Yeah, obviously, when you're involved with the academy, you have your hazing and your training and stuff like that with people. There's just some of the funny stuff that that goes on in the academies and stuff like that are always funny. But then when you got the new recruits coming out and you got your new rookies out there, and their uniforms look perfect, and they're all still
They're dressed right dress.
Corners, dress right dress, and everything is just like, sir, yes sir, and all this other kind of stuff. We would create some fictitious calls to get them in a certain area, and water balloon them, and just little things like that. We did this. I'm not going to say the officer's name, because he's had a really good career, and he's on up to a higher agency now. But he was young. He was extremely young. He was 21 when he got it, so he's extremely young. A lot of people come in. I went in my mid-20s, but anyway. So had he kind of a legacy law enforcement. Dad was in law enforcement. Both of them were in the military prior to law enforcement, stuff like that. And we did the same thing to him, and kind of gave him that a little bit of harassment, hazing kind of stuff, welcoming him to the club. And I have got to tell you, I was extremely shocked that what he did is he went to Walmart one night, bought one of these gigantic super soakers, and ended up calling the lieutenant over the radio, said, "Hey, can I get up with you somewhere?" And so he's sitting there waiting for the lieutenant to get there. As soon as the lieutenant pulls up, he picks the water gun up and soaks the lieutenant. I was like, wow. So for us, it was funny.
With.
The lieutenant was not, but it just sparked up, trash cans of water. I mean, it was one of these things, just a revolving door of water balloons and everything else. But, it was just one of those things like, man, this guy really set his feet on the ground. Like, hey, if y'all want to do this, I'll be there with you toe to toe. And it earned a lot of respect, But
yeah,
we would do things like, I'll say with dispatchers. You got to love your dispatchers, but you gotta give them a hard time sometimes, because they give you a hard time. But they're a lifeline that we love to death.
absolutely.
But we would get a new dispatcher, and we would go and see their car and get their tag number, and then we would we'd obviously wait till we're on
Call
night
it
shift.
in like it was a traffic stop.
No, called in like it was on the side of the road, stolen somewhere with the tires missing or something like that. And so they would run the tag and come back to their car, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's my car," and little things like that. But it was always in good fun and stuff like that. I wish I could remember some of the funny things dealing with a person in the public. Some of them, I'll give you one on me that's embarrassing about me. It was me and a couple of officers when I was with Hattiesburg. We were working over there off of East Hardy Street one night and had pulled this car over, got out with a guy was just sitting in a car on the side of the road. And I'm standing kind of back behind the car. And the other two officers were up there talking to him. And so finally they're telling him, okay, man, just go on home or whatever. It's like 3:00 in the morning. Well, he goes to crank the car up and it backfires. And I almost jumped smooth out of my uniform. I think they're still laughing about it to this day. And that was 25 years ago, but it was just one of those things, oh my God. And of course, it's,
at least you didn't mag dump. At least you didn't mag dump into his car.
Oh, trust me. When I jumped, my hand went to my pistol. I never pulled it out, but it was like, Lord have mercy,
Have y'all seen the video of the guy that mag dumped into his car when an acorn hit it? He heard a pop and he mag dumped into it.
I hadn't seen
that. How with a suspect in the back of the vehicle? He thought
nobody got hurt
and no one was hit. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my gosh.
I think that happened earlier this year. It was earlier this year, wasn't it, Rob?
Yeah, it was this year or late last year.
It's not a very old situation, but yeah, Jennifer, look that one up on YouTube, and you'll be like,
I am. Yeah, I am.
So
then there were all the memes about squirrels and tactical gear, and
oh yeah. We laugh about that kind of stuff, and thank God that the suspect that was handcuffed in the back of the patrol car did not get hit. It is a miracle of God. But you look at it, we talked about training earlier in this podcast and how serious it is. And, you take those things and you try to find and you utilize real world situations to implement into your training. That's what I was talking about earlier on the range. We would take
that needs to be a training video.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you don't want to make fun or down some of your brothers or sisters in law enforcement or EMS or anything else. But, when those situations come up, we've got to dissect it and we got to look at it and see, hey, was there something, what could have been done different to have a better outcome?
Yes.
So you always want to continuously improve and change your training to fit what's going on in society, because society changes faster than we can. We're always reacting from behind the 8 ball, on everything.
You're talking about when I was precepting, I had a student that was riding with us on the ambulance, had an MVA, and this guy had lots of facial and head lacks. He hit a windshield, but he was okay neurologically. But if you get a cut on your head, you're going to bleed like a stuck hog.
Right.
And my student passed out. So now my EMT basic, all right, get his feet up, get him set up. Let me take care of this guy. He comes to, we're loading the guy in the back of the truck. He comes to and he's like, oh man, he's freaking out about it. And the patient was like, is he going to be okay? He's on a backboard with C-collar, headband. He's all strapped down. Yeah, he's going to be fine. Let's get him. Yeah. He could have crawled. He couldn't get low enough in that ambulance. We put him in the passenger seat up front, and I handled the patient all the way to the hospital. But when you talk about pranks, there's a difference, and I told you this, Jennifer. There was a difference in the pranks that you can do with law enforcement and the pranks that we could do on an ambulance. And the reason was we were there for 24 hours at a time. We were staying at stations. You were living with your partners. So the pranks would take place. It's like everybody's trying to go to sleep, and we'd be messing with the new guy, the FNG. That's the kind of pranks we could do. Y'all had y'all shift. When y'all got done, y'all went home and slept in your own bed. So when you live with somebody, then you can start doing the big brother kind of pranks on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We had this is a good one. When you started saying that, it made me think about this. There was one night we were on night shift. Back when I was at Hattiesburg, we ran 9-hour shifts. You'd work 6 days on, 4 days off, and you would rotate between day shift, afternoon shift, and night shift. It wasn't the 12-hour shift you have now. And we were on night shift one night, come in at 10 o'clock, get off at 6 in the morning. And it was one of those nights where it's kind of a little bit cool at night, but it still gets hot during the day. So the dew kind of settles. I had gotten some posters from around Hattiesburg of a musical act. I'll just leave it at that. And I put it on because we didn't, at that time we didn't have take home cars, so you drove your personal vehicle to the police department. I mean, certain units had take home cars, but all of us patrol we didn't. So you drove your truck there, got us out, had muster, got on in your patrol car. When the guy that was working the shift before you parked it, you got in it, went to work. So I had taken these posters and put it all over one of my buddy's trucks, and the entire truck was covered with this local musical artist posters. And so anyway, as the night went on, he figured out it was me that did it. And there's this gigantic wad of paper in the back of my truck. Well, we get off at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm driving down Broadway Drive about McDonald's there, and I'm like, I'm rubbing my eyes like that, and also my eyes catch on fire. And I'm like, that's pepper spray. So he had pepper sprayed my door handle.
Oh.
So anyway, so I get home, take a shower, I'm like, yeah, he got me good on that one. And so that afternoon, my daughter now, who's 32, she was a little bitty back then. She had come home off the school bus and wanted to go get ice cream. So Dad's going to take her to go get ice cream. Well, we would always race to see who could get in the truck first. Well, she ran, and just before she grabbed the door handle, like, whoa, stop. So I stopped her because I had not cleaned my door handle. So I opened the door, we got in, and it got my mind to thinking. So I went to muster that night. I get in my chair and I just sit there. I don't say a word to nobody, and I just sit there. The lieutenant sergeant's going over all the reports from the day and passing on any administrative stuff. And like, has anybody got anything to add? Any questions? Anybody got anything to say? It's like, I got something to say. And I stood up and I turned around. And I looked at my entire platoon. I'm like, I'm not sure which one of you pepper sprayed my door handle. I said, but that's not even funny. So I said, we went to go get ice cream, and Kimberly ran up there and opened the door handle. She got it all over her face, and she's like 7. So I'm pouring this on as a mad dad, and I said, I'm tired of y'all's pranks. And I walk out and get my car and leave. And my lieutenant lost his mind and was just going off on everybody. So he told him, like, I don't care who it was, but before this night's over with, you better go tell Murray you apologize, all this kind of stuff. Y'all need to stop all these pranks. So anyway, we ended up on a burglary in progress type, but we thought it was a burglary in progress. We got there and guys were clearing the building. We were out of perimeter, and this officer comes up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I don't know what to say, man. I'm so sorry that Kimberly got on her," and I just started laughing. And he knew it at that point. I had made all this stuff up, and the lieutenant done shoot everybody out. So yeah, that was a pretty good one. I'm leaving out a lot of words that I don't want to say. Really. The expletives that really make the story, we could talk offline, but it was stuff like that, that you would see some of the good ones, but yeah, all in good fun.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, we used to set up vehicles like that pretty regular too. Like, you'd go to the hospital, and there's another unit there, and they left their unit unlocked,
unsecured.
Never leave your ambulance unsecured. Yeah. Because cruisers don't have a battery switch, do they?
No, not like an ambulance. No,
Ambulance has a battery switch. So what we would do is we make sure their battery switches were turned off, and we would have the windshield wipers going. We'd have the heater on at full blast going. We'd have the sirens going. We'd set them up. All the lights are going. Where as soon as they got on and turned that battery switch, all that shit's going
everything
off. So yeah, that was one thing. We used to be real good about putting KY jelly all up in the door handles too.
Oh,
they couldn't open it because it kept slipping off. I don't know. But that was, we'd set each other's units up like that, and I was one. But y'all couldn't set each other's units up like when y'all were out on a lunch or anything, huh?
Well, you could do a few little things, but not a whole lot because a lot of times you just never know how quick lunch is going to be because you may get the plate of food in front of you, then you're called out.
You
That
gotta
I
that's
will
go.
the
say
same
this.
thing with medics.
I
That's
will
why
say
we ate
this.
so fast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we had one guy, the same guy put the posters on his truck, that same exact truck. We had it towed one night and put in front of a bar on Broadway Drive and put his name on the marquee. And so anyway, he was trying to find his truck. He finds it. Well, unbeknownst to us, the back glass didn't work. The sliding glass didn't work, and he had taken his radio out of his truck. We didn't know that. So
Oh
on
yeah.
the flip side of him getting it, when we find it, he throws a fit because now someone's done broke into his truck, stole his radio out, and we're the ones that so that get the flip side. That's why I did the pepper spray thing because he had done that one earlier on.
That
But
was
yeah,
before the pepper spray
that was
incident.
before. Yeah, so he
Yeah.
was the one that turned the joke on all of us. We're
Yeah.
like,
Well, you
oh my
did
god,
good
we're
then.
we're talking about we're gonna have to write
Well,
statements
see,
over
I
all
needed the
this.
rest of the story there because you brought your daughter into this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I did one time. I was no longer working on the ambulance. I was working in the oil and gas industry, and I had a guy that came up. He from South Louisiana, and we are in a neighborhood that has lakes, a private homeowners association that has lakes, and he had pulled a pretty good prank on me at work, and I said, well, I'm gonna get the way better prank on him. So what I did was I said, well, let's go jug fishing. So we went out there and we threw jugs out in the lake for a couple of hours, and we were drinking beer, and I sent a text to my buddy that had a patrol car, was an officer, and when we're going up there to the boat ramp, I threw him my truck keys and I said, back my trailer down to the ramp. This is about midnight or so. This officer wasn't even on duty, but he pulls up, and as soon as he started backing that truck down that ramp, he waited until I got the boat loaded, and as soon as he pulled me out of the ramp, he comes in that parking lot and blue lights pop hot. Now, this guy is freaking out because we've been out there drinking some beer. We get handcuffed, stuffed in the back of this guy's cruiser, and he's looking over the boat and the truck and all that stuff. And we're sitting back there and we're talking. He goes, man, I got a license. I can't get away with this. Like, man, you better shut up. I ain't worried about all that. So anyway, he's freaking out about all this. We sit back there in cuffs for about 5 minutes, and finally the officer comes. He says, all right, we're going to go ahead and take y'all out of these. Pulls us out, and then starts laughing. And then he realizes that I've set him up for this. But what he didn't realize was that I had video of all this and the audio recording of us in the back of that car. And when we got back offshore, that became a safety meeting topic for the whole platform to see. He says,
funny.
okay, you got me. He says, you get the bonus points because you used outside agencies. You pulled people, you pulled in accomplices.
Yeah, accomplices.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get requests like that quite regularly, don't we, Jennifer?
Yes, we do.
Did you put my buddy in handcuffs? Like, yeah. So yeah.
I know.
Look, guys, I appreciate Jamie. I appreciate you coming back on and us doing this again. This is take 2. Jennifer, I'm so glad that you came on with us tonight. I'm glad you're feeling better. Jennifer was under the weather yesterday.
Yeah.
Way under the weather.
So I'm
glad. Way to bounce back.
God, yes.
I'm telling you, she's made out of rubber.
Yeah.
So I appreciate y'all coming on. I appreciate y'all coming and watching us. And if you've stayed this long into the video, if you would, go ahead and mash that like button if you liked it. If you really liked it, you can mash that subscribe button. And if you really want to help us out with doing these podcasts again in the future, you can always go to the Gettin 108shop.com and you can pick up some cool merch. Now, I've got law enforcement merch in there that's got humorous stuff on the back of the shirt and a Gettin 10-8 on the chest. Got the same thing for the fire department, got the same thing for the EMS and the dispatchers. And then with my ADD mind, because I've got other stuff, this channel kind of goes all over the place. I've got a Fat Daddy Eats apron, and this ain't your mom's apron. This is a pitmaster's apron. It's a man's apron that you have at the smokehouse when you're barbecuing. I've got these venomous snakes of Mississippi. Those are all in what's called Rob's grab bag. That's all the stuff that isn't with the first responder stuff. But y'all can check that out. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining us this week. And y'all take care. Have a great Black Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Y'all take care. Good seeing y'all.
All right, it was good seeing y'all. See you later.